thanks for joining us on Powerbrief Show. It is the month of February and the Republic of Kenya mourns the loss of its president, second president, that is Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi. And this time round, we are privileged and lucky to have Reverend Dr. Timothy Murere Njoya. Reverend Timothy Murere Njoya is a retired reverend with the Presbyterian Church of East Africa. He participated in the second liberation of the Republic of Kenya. And this time round, we look into the impact that the second president of the Republic of Kenya had in the economic, political, and social lives of Kenyans. Welcome, Reverend Njoya, to the show.
Thank you so much.
Kenyans outside there, and even the world in general, those people who knew you, are asking themselves, where is Reverend Timothy Murere Njoya nowadays?
I am here. You have found me in my Carino Rock Garden. This is where I study. This is where I work. I do research on masculinity. And also, this is where I look to a bright future. Yes.
Thank you so much, Reverend Doctor. We are looking into the life of the longest serving president of the Republic of Kenya. And we want to see the impact that he had on the political, social, and economic spheres of the lives of Kenyans and Kenya in general as a country. What was the status of Kenya when Moi took over in 1978 from Mzee Jomo Kenyatta?
First of all and foremost, let me send my condolences. I've already done it through social media to the family of Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi and to all Kenyans and all his friends. Secondly, let me say, for the 52 years that I've been a minister, I've always reading about others' death, even about mine. I've died 3 times. Time to be born and time to die. And I always tell people when I'm with their families, I say, pronounce about their relatives, dust to dust, soil to dust, soil, ashes to ashes. I'm sure I'm not Moi'S church minister, so I may not be asked to say that on the day he will be buried, but at least I'll be with those who will be saying dust to dust, soil to soil, and ashes to ashes. So that's what I would say. Yes, Moi is the longest serving minister.
Yes.
And so it is in that supposition with him that I shaped part of my life by trying to articulate my faith, my theology, in terms of demand to transform the world that he loved and which was the world he knew. Because on October 19, when he became president, I was for him. Even I've done a sculpture. You know, I do a lot of sculpture, you have seen. I've done a sculpture of him here because I celebrated him when he became president because I thought he was abolishing, and he did so, Magedo, corruption, smuggling. He came here with the moral, and he said, no matter how rich you are, you cannot sleep in 2 beds or eat 2 plates of food. So he came with my own socialist attitude, and I was very happy. So we went along until the day Kenyatta died. He became president. That's when he did very well, as I say. It's the day, sorry, until the day there was a coup d'etat, August 1, 1982. Then in reaction to that, he embraced totally the one-party state. And he changed the constitution to section 2A to make Kenya a de jure one political party. That's when our struggle began. Because
before we get to the struggle, Reverend Dr. Njoya, we want to know when Moi picked over Kenya from Mzee Jomo Kenyatta, what was the stability of the country by then in terms of cohesion and integration, in terms of social status, in terms of political tolerance and economic status?
Oh, the country was still undergoing the euphoria of independence. The only person who was able to detect about that independence was not substantive was Oginga Odinga. In 1966, about 66, 68, he said, Kenya is not yet uhuru, it's not yet free, because he started having conflict with the politics of succession for Jomo Kenyatta. And people didn't want him to become the successor. So they called a Limuru conference, and I was there, to say that we must have 5, 6 vice presidents, according to province, so that the Oginga Odinga does not come ipso facto, meaning the natural successor of President Kenyatta. And the machination was done by Tom Mboya. Immediately, Oginga was removed and he formed the KPU. Then Mboya was eliminated because people thought he was paving the way for himself to become, not people, the Gatodo cabinet. Thought that he was paving himself, the road for himself to succeed Kenyatta. And actually the international community did believe that the right successor, and you know those of Kenyatta, was Tom Mboya. I met Americans in Rockefeller Foundation that time and others who believed that Tom Mboya was the rightful successor, even Britain, because they didn't want Oginga Odinga because he was socialist leaning to succeed Kenyatta. So they wanted a capitalist leaning. They had already eliminated Pinto for being the mentor and ideologue of Oginga Odinga, for having socialist tendencies. You know, during the Cold War, governments were being overthrown, being removed because of having socialist tendencies. Also others because of having communist tendencies. You know, so in that sense, I would say that Moi was the natural successor of Kenyatta, because Kenyatta wanted somebody who can succeed him and protect his succession, his future, property and all that in a Rift Valley. Yes.
Thank you, Doctor. Now, looking into the life of Moi, he assumed power in the year 1978, and here comes 3 years down the line in the year 1982. There is an attempted coup, which actually was aborted. What do you think led to the dissatisfaction of the group that was planning for the coup?
Because this was the coup was pro-East. There was it was the Cold War. It was accused of being pro Oginga Odinga, because they had excluded a whole constituency that Oginga Odinga stood for. You know, that time it was said that Kenya is a jurist kind of, it had polarization, or you could call, between Kikuyu and Eruo as the big tribes who have made Kanu. And now Kanu is out through expulsion of Oginga Odinga. To come back in, that's what the coup was supposed. But the people who were actually accused as Maasaites was Akina Kitiri Mwendwa. There were people, because the Wakapa at that time were mainly the military people. So they were even not touched. The other people were imprisoned. The one who were in the coup, the junior people, who happened to be also members of the rural community. That means much more alienation and ostracization of a total conscious, enlightened community. So that didn't bother Moi very much. When he came to power and was able to succeed Kenyatta, his greatest problem was how to curl or trim the ambitions of people like Jojo, and many others who, you know, the Msariti game, where Kenya Jojo was accused of Msariti. The game was, Moi, when the coup happened, the issue was no longer Oginga Odinga, which was the issue during Kenyatta's time. The issue was mainly who is a threat to the entrenchment of Moi in power. And therefore, he started now looking for ways to consolidate power. And he did actually very well without people minding until he started repeating the excesses of the Kenyatta time. You know, what goes round comes round. He started now, what he was fighting became, when he became president immediately, became normal now.
Go there, when he took over, one of his declaration was that nitafuata nyayo, and even the word nyayo was coined from there. Was he wrong to follow the nyayo?
Capitalism, yes, but not practically.
Yes.
The operationalization of that nyayo was that he was going to follow the Western model of the capitalist model, the market model of the economy in Kenya.
What was the reaction of the president? The political temperatures from 1982, before 1990, we don't want to reach to 1990 because you will feature prominently there. What was the political tolerance, stability in terms of freedom of expression, how people could intermingle and participate in political activities?
You know now, Mazrui had backed Ogega Odiga's cliche that Kenya is not yet free. And they said that Kenyatta was the second colonial governor. Moi'S started behaving like this. He said he was the last colonial governor. That's what Mazrui had said. Now, Moi'S started behaving like the second last colonial governor to consolidate the colonial legacy in a way where the government was not the elected one or the party. It was the bureaucracy, the provincial bureaucracy. So Moi thought now he can rule through the state bureaucracy. He doesn't need even his own kind of political party. He could even purge political parties. You can see by 1986, he was for even Murorongo to shed off popular candidates in the elections.
Were politicians allowed to hold political rallies right from 1982 to 1990?
He didn't want, popular politics was no longer tolerable. Yeah.
No freedom of assemblies.
That's
people
why
are not
the term Murorongo came in order to crystallize the fact that popular politics was no longer, one party could not, it was not only unable to tolerate multi-party, now popular politics were kind of outlawed. Yes, you could not be popular and be Kanu.
We'll break into that as we come after the break. But now, we are looking at circumstances. What really happened after the attempted coup. You know, a lot of tension comes in the country and what have you. Investors have a lot of fears. What was the economic status of Kenya from 1982 to 1990?
Yes, that's what I was trying to explain, that the economy became dependent on external debt because of the situation of the Cold War. They wanted to buttress dictators. America was for Suharto, Papadoc, Marcos, all those dictators of the Western world. Those were the kingpins. In Africa, they had already 36 coups d'etat for leading the West of dictators who are not dictators for the West. Yes, like in Nkrumah, I cannot mention all, like Obote. All the dictators were not pro-West. And then the Western, the Russian was also removing the dictators which were not pro-Eastern. So the world was polarized between East and West. And that's why Kenya economy started being dependent on donors to maintain. It's like a military outpost of the Western world. Even if we built an airport by East Africa, it is one of the best airports that time in Eastern Africa, at Wajir. It was built by, it still belongs, and it was built by European Union for deterring the entry of Russia in Africa. It's a military, we had a better military airport than Bakassi. I was one of the first people to try to go there when I went to Wajir. Even President has not ridden on that. I was one of the people who ridden in Wajir airport in a private aeroplane. So I know, and it is when all that, now it became like we are an outpost for the deterrence against communism. So now that helped Moi to consolidate power, external power. And me, I was not for, you know, I have socialist tendencies.
Sure. And then now, Daktari, when you look at how the 1982 event occurred and how some communities were profiled that they were at the forefront in organizing the coup and what have you, how was the socio-political existence among its Kenyans during that time?
You see, I'm saying that still there was a bit of euphoria of independence. That anyone who is fighting for the bureaucracy, the state bureaucracy, the administration, all that who is meeting law and order, Kenya's an island of peace and tranquility. Let me use Moi'S terms, because we are talking about Moi. He called his government an island of peace and tranquility. That euphoria of independence was that we are independent, therefore we can tolerate any nonsense, was there. So I was saying, when all that economy collapsed, the World Bank, I was part of machination, told Kenya, you must downsize, you must retrench, you must divest, you must do all those kind of divesting, retrenching, downsizing the government. All those, it was very, very disastrous for Moi. So then local pressure, demonstration, and other things. Moi is not stupid. He is a very good professor of politics. He, unlike other dictators, would have gone to civil war. Mobilize any group to civil war. He didn't mobilize anyone. He allowed us to have multi-party. That, you know, himself. And I want to commandeer it.
Daktari, on the matter of multi-party, you see even the current status in the country where when Jubilee came up, it folded to become one party, and the entire idea was that people have to come together. Now, during Moi time, what triggered your interest towards forging for having many parties? Was a single party democracy not working for the country?
No, it's not simply Moi. I was still, even before then, I was for democracy. You know, my church is democratic. We do elections from grassroots every year. You know, every group has its own elections. I wanted to, and again, democracy originated from the Presbyterian. The 1560 Constitution of the Church of Scotland was the basis on which American Revolution was made. That God created all people equal in their rights to freedom, in their rights to liberty, which was freedom, in their right to possession, to having the means of existence, and in their right to self-determination. That's why, and they killed King James because he couldn't allow that to happen. So my Church of Scotland was the one which was Knox, carrying revolution in Scotland. So I had this synthesis of being African, being saved, and being revolutionary by nature of my theology. So that one I did not come because I am anti-Moi or anyone, but because I wanted Kenya to be structured according to the French Revolution. I wanted Kenya to be structured according to social welfare, social ideas that all are by our constitution of the PCA. One of the sections is that people need to not be controlled by the state authority. Yes, the people have a freedom to determine their future, not outside the control and the determination by the state authority, because we are the real sovereign. The state is delegate to some of that sovereignty, not all of it.
We go for a short break.
Yes.
But as we come back, we will be looking deep into some of the steps, the impact that the second president of the Republic of Kenya, Daniel Toroitich Arap Moi, had for this country, and how comes that he had to bar into pressure to giving the country a multi-party state and the reforms that came, the clamor for the change of the constitution, and how it ended until he handed powers to President Mwai Kibaki. Reverend Timothy Njoya has first-hand information because he participated in the birth and liberation of the Second Republic and is here to tell us what really happened and what he thinks and believes can take Kenya to another level. You can engage us on our social media platforms, Facebook, that is KAK TV Kenya, Twitter, KAK TV_Kenya. Our Instagram is KAK TV Kenya, or you can also stream live on our YouTube channel.
Shambani mwanyayo na zilimwe wana